seconds to go before the start of the 1968 Delhi Express International Powerboat Race. The 48 entrants are coming down towards the starting line. At this stage, they're under the control of HMS Brave Borderer, one of the fast naval patrol boats, and they're controlled to approaching the line at 20 knots. And then just a second or two before the actual start goes, Brave Borderer will fire off a grenade to signal to the boats. There it goes. The boats are now on their own. 15 seconds to the actual beginning of the race. The throttles come back and away they roar. Even here in the Solent, the conditions were pretty rough, but nothing at all compared with what these boats would have to look forward to going across the open seas of Lyme Bay. The first leg of the course was from Cowes across to South Sea. Magnum Tornado there, whipping out into the lead. The slower boats coming through after. Gypsy Girl. So they streaked across the waters of the Solent, past Ryde on the Isle of Wight, across towards Southsea for the first turning point. On this first leg, the leading boats were going at speeds approaching 60 miles an hour, but it was already clear that such fantastic speeds would not be maintained once the open sea was reached. Also at this time, there began the duel, which was to run for nearly half the race between Magnum Tornado, driven there by Vincenzo Balestrieri, and hot on her heels, Sir Fury, driven by Charles and Jimmy Gardner. Charles and Jimmy Gardner, at the start of this 1968 race, were the only men to have won the Cowes to Torquay race twice. And of course, at this stage in the race, one of the big questions is tactics. Do you, in fact, open up your throttles and try to lick everything else in sight, or do you quietly nurse your engine a little bit and just hold back in the hope that your chance will come later on? And it was thoughts like these that were going through Tommy Sopwith's head as he drove Telstar, lying in 4th place on the tail of Bill Shan Kidd, lying just ahead in Ultimatum.
And there was a tremendous temptation there to open the throttle and say, well, we'll blow them off, but fortunately one resisted that.
Big boys would stand a chance of blasting their way through the heavy seas which must be expected down in Lyme Bay. After the South Sea turn, the boats came around to roar down for the second time past Cowes. There's Delta there, driven by Ricky Gardner, Charles Gardner's son, a boat owned by Charles Gardner's daughter. One of the fast Vosper boats keeping up as well as it could with these incredibly speedy racing boats. Back there across the mouth of the Medina River at Cowes. And at this stage, Sir Fury had taken over the lead from Magnum Tornado. Sir Fury, 111 there, this long delta-shaped boat, this dart-shaped boat. Back now, right across the original starting line. Again, one of the Vosper boats. And now the roar down the western Solent down towards Yarmouth. Magnum Tornado there, number 4, on the heels of Sir Fury, driven into the lead at the moment by the Gardner brothers. Hurst Castle, one of the guardians of the Solent, and beyond it, the open waters of the English Channel. This is where the waves became mountains. The small boats were clearly at this stage going to have a really great problem. Ultraviolet, again, a regular racer in this Cowes to Torquay race. Finding now the open waters and the big waves a little too much. And indeed, the Weymouth Belle wasn't to be the only boat which quietly went into port on this particular morning. Maltese Magnum, one of the small boats which had done so well down the western Solent and had scorched her way up amongst the leaders, was now in trouble and beginning the slow and painful haul back towards Cowes. But ahead of her, the 3 boats in the lead were beginning to approach the open waters of Lyme Bay. Sir Fury by the Gardner brothers, Magnum Tornado by Balestrieri, and Tommy Sopwith beginning to wonder how he and Telstar would handle the bay.
I knew that Sir Fury and Magnum Tornado were having a monstrous duel, and we couldn't take them on that ground at all. Both boats were longer than we were, both boats were more powerful, but the length was much more important than the power. So one watched them go off with Brave Borderer. We thought we were probably in the first half dozen at that stage, but didn't really know.
Sir Fury, a long pointed nose, deliberately designed to go into the sea in the way that she is now. With our cameraman Joe Hardy and the helicopter over the top of these two leading boats, the thought must have been occurring to the drivers that for the first time in this Cowes to Torquay race, the finishing point was not at Torquay, as it has been in the preceding 7 years, but that after the turn at Torquay, they would have once again to fight these seas back across Lyme Bay. And now Telstar with Tommy Sopwith back towards Cowes. It seems certain that at this stage, Charles and Jimmy Gardner, following along in Sir Fury, had no idea that they were in fact lagging behind Telstar. The crowds on Portland Bill watched this little boat, this little 25-foot boat, speed past in conditions that one would have thought would by now have defeated it. Tommy Sopwith himself, throughout the race, was dogged with the thought that either he or his boat would let the other one down. His big preoccupation all the way through was not to win, but just to finish. Sir Fury, as far as he was concerned, could win. He just wanted to get back to Cowes in one piece, man and boat. First in 1961, the first race that ever was, when it was simply from Cowes to Torquay, and now he'd won it again, the first time it was Cowes to Torquay and back to Cowes. The second boat up the Solent, but with a gap of about 11 minutes between them, was Sir Fury with Charles and Jimmy Gardner, apparently still at this moment confident that success was theirs. Remember that they hadn't seen Telstar at all from the moment that they'd left those opening tussle moments, and that the whole of the struggle as far as Sir Fury was concerned had been with Magnum Tornado. Now she's home and over the line into Cowes to find, perhaps with consternation, the winner's berth is already occupied by Tommy Sopwith and Telstar. And so for another 4 hours, the boats which managed to finish this grueling race came back into Cowes. Out of 48 starters, only 23 finished, including number 123 UFO here, which came in third. Only 23 out of 48 finished, and of those 23, only 20 managed to fulfill the minimum speed requirements to be considered for final placing in the race. Not a fast race this time. Average speed by Tommy Sopwith of only 38 miles an hour. But a very great race, a real classic powerboat race, and a real classic for Tommy Sopwith. It's difficult to imagine any man for whom there would have been more public pleasure at the winning ticket for this particular race. He won it in 1961 when the race first started. He's had 3 non-finishing attempts. He ran the race himself as race secretary from 1964, 65 and 1966. And now here in 1968, he's in the winner's berth, having completed this great double of having won the first Cowes to Torquay race and now having won the first Cowes to Torquay to Cowes race. Tommy Sopwith, the moment of relaxation now arrived. The moment of certainty at last that he really would keep going, and that Telstar, this splendid boat, also really would keep going. A great turnout, well done Tommy indeed. Great public jubilation to see Tommy Sopwith, this great sportsman, finish this race, which is in so much his own race, to finish it first in 1968.
Extraordinary things happen.